She didn't mean to look at me that long. Or maybe she did. Either way, that pause, those few seconds between a glance and a look, was where everything started. Her name's Clara, though everyone else calls her Mrs. Lewis. My best friend's older sister. I'd been to her house a dozen times before, but that night felt different. There was a stillness to it, like the air was listening. The text had come an hour earlier. From her sister. "You're alone tonight, right?" I was. And I shouldn't have been curious enough to ask why she was asking, but curiosity has teeth, and it bit hard. So I ended up on her porch, holding a six-pack I didn't plan to drink, telling myself it was nothing. That I'd just drop it off, say hi, maybe fix that porch light she mentioned last time. But when she opened the door barefoot, sweater slipping off one shoulder, hair slightly undone, I forgot the rest of the plan. "Hey," she said, voice softer than I remembered. "Hey," I managed. That should have been it. But she didn't step back right away, and I didn't move either. For a second, the hallway light caught the faint shine on her collarbone, the tired glow in her eyes. She looked like someone who tried to be composed all day and finally stopped trying. Inside, the living room felt too quiet. There was an old record player humming low, a candle burning down to the glass. She motioned to the couch, and I sat, careful, like the air might break. "You didn't have to come," she said. "I know. You always say yes too fast." "I don't think that's true." "It is." She smiled then, small and knowing. It wasn't teasing, it was recognition. Like she'd seen that part of me before I did. Her voice carried a calm that made me uneasy, like she knew how easily she could undo me and didn't want to, but might. She handed me a mug, tea, not beer, and sat beside me. Too close to be casual, too far to be reckless. I could feel the heat off her skin through the fabric between us. The candle flickered, and the light cut across her jaw, her throat, the soft movement when she swallowed. "So," I said, because the silence was starting to feel dangerous. "So," she echoed, watching the steam rise between us. "Your sister texted me." Her brow lifted. "Did she now?" She said, never mind." Her mouth curved. "No, say it." She said, "You're alone tonight, right?" Her eyes didn't move from mine. A faint laugh slipped out of her nose, more breath than sound. "And that made you come here?" I guess I was curious. Curious about me? The question landed softly, but it hit like a stone in water, ripples everywhere. I didn't answer right away. The clock ticked behind her, slow and deliberate. She leaned back, fingers tracing the rim of her cup. I noticed her nails, short, neat, no polish. Her hands looked like they'd done real things, cooking, fixing, carrying. The kind of hands you trust. "Clara," I said quietly, "why did she send that text?" Her eyes lingered on mine a second too long, then dropped to the mug. "Maybe she thought you'd keep me company," she said. "Do you need company?" She looked up again. "Do you?" The silence after that wasn't empty, it was full of everything neither of us knew how to say. Outside, wind brushed the windows. Inside, her knee grazed mine, barely. No one moved away. Then the phone on the table buzzed. Once. Loud in the quiet. She turned toward it, then back to me. Whatever was in her eyes wasn't confusion, it was decision waiting to happen. The phone buzzed again. She didn't reach for it, the phone kept buzzing, but neither of us moved. Eventually, she sighed, that quiet kind of exhale that sounds like surrender, and turned the screen face down. "Spam," she said. But her voice didn't sound convinced. I wasn't either. She poured more tea just to have something to do. I watched the way her hand trembled when she lifted the kettle, barely noticeable, like she was hoping I wouldn't see. "So," she said, "you still at the garage?" "Yeah. Part-time. Finishing my degree too." "You always had that, focused energy." "I just get stuck on things," I said. Her mouth curved again. "That can be dangerous." She said it lightly, but something in the air shifted, like the line between us had started to fray. Clara had been married once. Everyone knew that part. What most people didn't know, what I'd heard her sister mention once, was that he left 2 years ago. Just didn't come home one day. I didn't ask. You could see it in how she lived, the careful order of everything, the quiet house, the extra mug that always stayed clean. She didn't wear a ring, but she still touched that spot sometimes, unconsciously, her thumb brushing where it used to be. Your sister didn't tell me much, I said after a while. She doesn't know much to tell. She said you've been busy. Clara smiled at that. That's her way of saying alone. Are you? She tilted her head. You ask too many questions. You answer them, though. That made her laugh. She set her cup down, leaned forward just slightly. Her hair brushed her cheek. I had the stupid thought to reach out and move it, but my hand stayed where it was. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was heavy, dense, like we were standing in the middle of something we both pretended not to see. I looked at her hands again, those hands I couldn't stop noticing. The veins, the strength, the way her thumb moved in small circles on the rim of her mug. You know this is strange, right? She said finally. Yeah. Me and you sitting here like this. I wasn't planning on it. Neither was I. Her eyes found mine again. But here we are. She said it softly, like she was testing the shape of the words. I could smell her perfume, something faint, warm, maybe vanilla or amber mixing with the scent of tea. It made my thoughts blur. When she stood to get more water, her hand brushed my shoulder as she passed. Light, brief, but deliberate. I looked up, and she didn't apologize. Clara, I said. She stopped, turned slightly. What? I hesitated. Nothing. She gave me a look that said she knew it wasn't nothing. When she came back, she sat closer this time. The couch dipped between us, and our knees touched, not by accident. We didn't move. She looked at me, and for once, neither of us tried to fill the silence. Just the faint hum of the record player, the whisper of her breath, and that charged, impossible nearness holding everything we didn't say. The sound came from the front door, a sharp knock, then another. Both of us froze. Clara's hand instinctively went to her chest. Who? I stood, but she caught my wrist before I could take a step. Her touch was quick, warm, and meant to stop me, but it lingered just a second too long. It's probably my sister, she whispered. She sometimes drops by without. The knock came again, louder this time. Neither of us moved. The room was too small, too alive with everything we weren't saying. I could feel the pulse in her wrist against my skin, fast, unsteady. Then the door handle rattled. Clara, a voice called from outside. It was her sister. Clara stepped back, almost stumbling into the coffee table. Go. Kitchen. Now. I slipped behind the counter as she opened the door halfway. My heart beat like I'd been caught doing something criminal. Hey, her sister's voice came, light and curious. You okay? You didn't answer my texts. I was about to go to bed, Clara said, too quickly. From my hiding spot, I could see the edge of the hallway mirror and her reflection. Her hair was messy, cheeks flushed, sweater slipping off one shoulder. She looked nothing like someone about to sleep. Her sister's eyes narrowed. You sure? Positive. Right. A pause. Then softer, you should get out more, you know. I'm fine, Mel. After a few more words, casual, awkward, the door finally shut. Silence again. Clara leaned against it, exhaling. When she turned, she found me still there. Sorry, she said, brushing her hair back. She's protective. I stepped closer. She thinks I'm some sort of. She doesn't think about you. That's a lie. Clara's lips twitched. Maybe. The air thickened again. The distance between us was small, smaller than before. You should probably go, she said. But her voice didn't match the words. Yeah. Neither of us moved. I could see the faint shimmer on her skin where the candlelight touched it. Her breath hitched when I stepped closer. "This is," she began. "Yeah," I said. The record had stopped playing, leaving just the faint static hum, a heartbeat of sound that filled the room. She looked up at me, and for the first time, didn't hide the pull in her eyes. Her fingers brushed my sleeve. Just a touch. Enough to stop time. "Clara." "Don't," she whispered. "I'm not." Her hand moved again, this time to my chest. Flat against my shirt. My heart betrayed me, thudding against her palm. "See," she murmured. "That's the problem." "Why is it a problem?" "Because I'm old enough to know better." Her words trembled, not from certainty, but from wanting to believe them. I didn't answer. Couldn't. We stood there, too close, too aware, the world outside silent except for the faint wind in the cooling tea. Then, from somewhere behind us, her phone buzzed again. She closed her eyes, hand still on my chest, and whispered, almost to herself, "This is how mistakes start." But she didn't move away. Clara didn't move her hand. Neither did I. The phone buzzed again on the table, sharp against the silence, then stopped. When she finally looked up, her eyes were different, darker, unsettled. "You should really go," she said, but it came out softer than before. Like a warning she hoped I'd ignore. "I will," I said. But I didn't. The room felt smaller, as if the air itself had started to close in around us. She stepped past me to blow out the candle, and in that second, when her shoulder brushed mine, when I caught the faint scent of her hair, something in me cracked. "Clara," I said quietly, "why do you keep doing that?" She stopped, her back still turned. "Doing what?" "Acting like you don't want me here." She turned slowly, eyes unreadable. "Because I don't." I laughed, just once, low, nervous. "Then say it like you mean it." She didn't. Instead, she crossed her arms, a small shield, and said, "You think this is simple?" "It's not." "I never said it was." "You don't have to. You're too young to know what comes after this." Her voice trembled, and for the first time, I realized how much of her calm was an act. I took a step closer. She didn't move back. Another. Still no retreat. When I reached her, I lifted my hand, hesitated, then brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. My fingers grazed her cheek, and I swear I felt her breath catch before she spoke again. "You have no idea what you're doing," she whispered. "Then tell me. It's not just about you. Then make it about you." That line landed between us like a match dropped in dry grass. Her lips parted, just slightly, and the fight in her eyes softened into something else, something raw, unguarded. She leaned against the counter behind her, and I moved closer without meaning to, until there was nothing left between us but air and tension. My hand rested on the edge of the counter beside hers, our fingers almost touched, barely brushing, electric. Her breath hitched. "You shouldn't be here," she said again. "But I am." Clara closed her eyes, as if that would stop what was happening. When she opened them, something in her broke, a quiet surrender that scared us both. "Do you ever think about what people would say?" she asked. "Every second." "And you're not afraid?" "I am." "Then why?" I cut her off, stepping closer, my voice near her ear now. "Because it's you." The air between us pulsed, heartbeat against heartbeat, breath against breath. My hand moved to her waist, gentle, waiting for her to push it away. She didn't. For a moment, it felt inevitable, the way her body leaned toward mine, the tremor in her fingers when she rested them on my chest again. Then a sudden, jarring sound. The door creaked open. A voice, "Clara?" We froze. Her sister's voice again, closer this time. "Are you? Oh. You're not alone." Clara's eyes widened, panic flashing like lightning beneath calm. And just like that, the moment shattered, suspended between what almost happened and what still might. Her sister's voice hit the room like cold air. "Clara?" Clara straightened so fast the mug on the counter tipped, clinking against the sink. Mel, what are you doing back?" "I forgot my bag." A pause. Then, sharper, "Who's here?" I stepped out before Clara could answer. There was no way to make it less awkward. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "It's just me." Mel's eyes flicked between us, me near the counter, Clara flushed, the faint candle still smoking. "Just you," she said slowly. "At midnight." Clara started to speak, but Mel's tone cut through her. "Seriously, Clara? He's 22. The silence that followed was brutal. Clara's jaw tightened, my pulse hammered in my throat. Mel shook her head. "You're unbelievable." She turned toward the door. But before she left, she stopped, her hand on the knob, and said, quieter this time, "You don't even know what he doesn't know." Then she was gone. The door shut, and the house fell still again. "What does that mean?" I asked. Clara didn't answer. She turned away, pressing her palms to the counter like she needed to steady herself. "Clara." "Don't," she said, voice trembling. "Just don't." But I couldn't let it go. "Does she think you're what, taking advantage of me?" Her laugh came out sharp, humorless. "I think she knows better than that." "Then what?" She turned, finally meeting my eyes. "She thinks you should know something before this, before we become something." I waited. She exhaled, shoulders dropping as if she'd been carrying this weight too long. "You remember when I said my husband left?" "Yeah." "He didn't." "Not exactly." The words landed like a slap. "What do you mean?" "He's been in the hospital. An accident. 2 years in recovery." I stayed away because she stopped, voice cracking. Because it was easier to pretend I'd been left than to admit I was waiting for someone who might never come back. She looked up then, eyes wet but steady. "And now here you are." The world tilted a little. I didn't know whether to comfort her or step back. I did both, a half step forward, hand reaching out, then stopping midair. She caught my wrist, not to pull me closer, but to keep me still. "Do you see why this can't happen?" she said. "I see why you think it can't." Her hand slid away, slow, reluctant. "You don't understand." "Then help me." She shook her head, almost smiling through it. "You shouldn't want to." The air between us pulsed again, full of everything unsaid, the lie she'd carried, the truth I wasn't ready for, the want that didn't care either way. I stepped closer. "You think this changes what I feel?" "It should. But it doesn't." Her breath caught. The candle smoke still hung faintly in the air, twisting between us. "Then what now?" she asked. "Now," I said, "we stop pretending." Her hand trembled when it found mine again. No words, just that small, shaking touch, the kind that meant there was no going back. The house was silent again. But this time, the silence didn't feel like peace, it felt like something about to break. Clara's hand was still in mine. I could feel the tremor in her fingers, the way she wanted to pull away but didn't. "I shouldn't have told you," she said softly. "I'm glad you did. It doesn't make any of this easier." "No," I said, "it makes it real." She looked up then, eyes tired, guarded, but open in a way they hadn't been before. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The hum of the refrigerator, the faint tick of the clock, everything else faded. I stepped closer. "You can tell me to leave," I said. "I've told you that 3 times. "Yeah, but not like you mean it." That made her laugh, low, almost a whisper. She shook her head, brushing a hand through her hair, and it fell into her face again. I reached out before I could think and tucked it behind her ear. My knuckles grazed her cheek. "Don't," she said. But she didn't move. Her breath warmed the space between us. I could smell her perfume again, the faint trace of tea and candle wax. "Tell me what you want," I said. She blinked once, slow. "You wouldn't believe me." "Try me." Her lips parted, but the words caught in her throat. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked, "I want to forget the rules for one night." The honesty in that sentence knocked the air out of me. "Then forget them," I whispered. Her hand lifted, finding my jaw hesitant at first, then steady. Her thumb brushed the corner of my mouth. My pulse jumped under her touch, and she felt it. I could tell from the way her breath stuttered. "Don't look at me like that," she murmured. "Like what?" "Like you'll still want me in the morning." I didn't answer. I leaned in just enough for her to feel my breath against her lips, close enough to make it impossible to pretend anymore. Her fingers tightened slightly against my face. The space between us narrowed until there was only one heartbeat, one breath. "Clara," I whispered, "I don't care how this looks. I care how it feels." She closed her eyes. "That's what scares me." For a moment, the world held its breath. I could feel every tremor in her body, every word she didn't say pressing against the edge of a choice. Then she exhaled a soft, trembling sound and stepped closer. Her forehead rested against mine. No kiss, not yet. Just that closeness. That surrender without the fall. When she spoke, it was barely a whisper. "I can't keep pretending I don't want this. I know." We stayed there, caught between restraint and release, neither of us moving, both knowing we'd already crossed the line in everything but touch. Finally, she drew back just enough to meet my eyes. "Then this," she said, her voice steady now, "has to mean something." It already does. And for the first time, she didn't look afraid. Just seen fully, completely, unbearably seen, the candle had burned itself out, leaving only a thin trail of smoke curling into the dark. The house was quiet, too late for visitors, too early for sleep. Clara sat on the edge of the couch, elbows on her knees, hands folded. I stood a few steps away, waiting for her to speak first. But she didn't. She just breathed slow, steady, like she was trying to find a version of herself that didn't hurt. "You're quiet," she said finally. "So are you." "I'm thinking. About everything I shouldn't." I smiled, but it didn't feel like the right moment for one. I sat down next to her, not touching, but close enough for her to feel the warmth. "You know this doesn't make sense," she said. "I know. And yet you're still here." "I told you, I'm not going anywhere unless you ask me to." She looked at me then. Not the guarded glance she used to hide behind, but something softer, worn in. Her eyes searched mine, like she was looking for the part of me that understood the risk and stayed anyway. "You remind me of who I used to be," she said. "Before I got careful." "That's not a bad thing." "It is when careful is all that's kept me standing." Her voice broke on that last word, and before I could think, I reached for her hand. She let me. Our fingers fit easily, not perfect, not planned, just real. We sat like that for a while, saying nothing. The hum of the refrigerator, the ticking clock, her thumb brushing the back of my hand in slow circles, all of it felt like the only kind of language that mattered. "After a while," she said, "you'll regret this one day." "Maybe. But not tonight." That made her laugh, quiet, the kind of laugh that comes from remembering how to. She leaned back, and I followed, shoulders touching. "I kept thinking love had an expiration date," she whispered. "Maybe it does. Maybe we just missed it. Or maybe we stopped checking." Her head rested lightly against my shoulder then. The moment wasn't electric like before, it was steadier, more certain. The kind of closeness that felt earned. I turned my head, just enough for my lips to brush her hair. "Clara." "Mm? Thank you." "For what?" "For letting me see you." She smiled, small, tired, but full of something new. "You make it sound like a choice." Outside, wind moved through the trees, tapping against the window. Inside, everything settled, the doubt, the fear, the noise. She shifted, our fingers still linked, and whispered, "Then maybe we stop pretending this was a mistake." Agreed. And that was it. No grand ending, no music swelling, just two people sitting too close on a worn couch, holding on because for the first time, it felt allowed. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?